Hey beautiful friends, welcome back. Inspiration for Life this afternoon with very special guest Daniel Sommerville. We're going to be talking about some beautiful topics that I think will really be inspiring to you, and Daniel will be hopping on in just a second, just making sure that I've got all of the settings okay. I want to make sure that I've got I'm on public. Let's make sure of that. And thank you if you were here with us just a moment. We tried to hop on and it didn't connect, but I hope you're joining us back again now, and we're going to make this work. And it's a beautiful, beautiful afternoon here in North Texas, and I am so looking forward to this conversation with Daniel Sommerville, who is awesome.
There we go.
Great.
Hey, Michelle.
A health and life coach. Looks like he's connected. It's a little bit fuzzy, but we are going to pull this in. And here we are. Hey.
Hey.
Okay, I can't hear you. 1 second. This is where we get a shot close up of my pause. Would you speak again?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Perfect. Got
awesome.
it.
Fantastic.
Yay. Fantastic. Well, we kind of put this together pretty much at the last minute, but I'm so glad that you are here. I was going to title this, not that we need a title. I think we're doing away with titles and labels and boxes and what have you. But I would say, if anything, creating a culture of oneness, because I think we're moving from theory to practical, and how that is actually really showing up in our day-to-day life, our body, our functions, our relationships. Would you agree with that we are moving big time and quickly from theory to practical?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're really becoming the word. Like, we're really learning to embody this revelation that we've been talking about in the church for so long, and then coming through the deconstruction. And it's really an exciting time. Like, I just want to say, like, I'm so excited to be on here right now, to be co-creating this interaction with you. Like, I've just been whacked all morning because, like, things are lining up. It's like, it's the now time to really embody this, to let go of all of the programming that we've been so caught in, and all of the mind beliefs and the doctrines and the stuff. And it's like no, it's now, it's in the heart, and we're becoming it. So
yes, that is so true. And not to skip past that too quickly, because I know that I started saying that, putting that out maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We began to enter into, for some, the fortunate dark night of the soul. It is not a terrible place to be. It is a beautiful shedding and an unloading, isn't it? It's in that dark place, if we will but perceive it in the way that it's intended for us. It's an opportunity for us to meet the spaciousness that's within us, right? To bring light and to expand that spaciousness within us, so that we can disassemble all of the little s self ego constructs. Share with us a little bit about how that's been for you, and how you are shedding your own ego constructs, what that means to you, and how you're helping others do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, Michelle, because, like, the dark night of the soul, it's the most painful. Like, let's be real, it is the worst, like, most painful, like, terrible thing that you can go through, especially when you don't know what it's about, and, like, external things start falling apart, and then, you feel like you're cut off from God. And then, like, for me, it was like everything that my external identity was in, as far as, like, oh, I'm a business owner, or, I want to be, have this great ministry, or, like, like all these prophetic words, like you're a prophet or you're an evangelist or all this stuff. And it's like, you see the people on the stage and you just pedestalize them, and you're like, I want to be that. And so your whole mind and your whole ego and everything is wanting to be that, and then wanting to make a certain amount of money, or have a business looking a certain way, so that you can be accepted by your peer groups or your family, or whatever. And so for me, it was like, and health was a part of it for me too. So, like, growing up, I was a long distance runner, and I was a high level soccer player. And so I was a fitness trainer, and I was like, I'm an athlete. I need to have that beach body all the time. And literally, like, going into the dark night of the soul, I lost it all. So like I ended up having a spinal cord injury, gaining 100 pounds, was 300 pounds obese. I was just freshly married to my wife, Renee. And so it was just like a massive shock because I'm like, hey, my business is going to launch. We're going to make some money. We're going to be able to move into a house and everything's going to be, with the white picket fence and life's going to be great. And, like I just got off this long water fast with God and got all these big prophetic words and seeing stadiums filled and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to happen. Like this is so exciting. And literally, systematically, everything that I thought I was, Daniel, and the life that I'd created for myself in my own mind was literally uprooted and removed. And it was very painful and it was very hard. And perhaps the hardest part is that I wasn't connected with anybody online who was tracking with this stuff yet. And so a lot of the well-meaning people that are great, and I love them, but I was getting advice, just like read your Bible more, worship more, like pray in tongues more. And I'm praying in tongues for 6 hours a day. I'm reading my Bible like this much. I'm worshiping as much as I can. And then finally God was just like, hey, the tap's going off. And so I just went into like there's no more God. Like I know there is, but it was literally how St. John of the Cross, like God connected me with St. John of the Cross, and I dove deep into his teachings. And he said exactly what you just said, that it is the biggest blessing that a human soul can go through on the earth plane. And I held on to that, and I didn't get it. I didn't have a grid for anything I was going through, but I knew that something big was going to happen. And I had this sense deep in myself that if I didn't kill myself, or if I didn't die, then there was going to be something glorious on the other side. And so, yeah, that it's really the ego's, or the ego, or what the Bible calls the flesh, or the carnal mind operating system, that really creates these boxes in our life of, I need to look a certain way, or I need to be a certain way, or I need to have a certain external outcome, money, relationship, whatever it is, in order to be okay. And the root of it all is that the ego doesn't know that it's one with Source.
Yes.
It doesn't know that it's one with God. And so when it doesn't know that it's one, because I lack, if I don't know that I'm loved and loved, then I will lack. And if I lack, then I need to attach. So I'm going to attach to that relationship, or I'm going to attach to that perfect image of my body where I think I'll be accepted, then I'll be lovable. Then I'm going to attach to making a certain amount of money, because if I have a certain amount of money, then I'll have a relationship and then I'll be loved. And so the ego will attach to all of these things, and then it will try to control the outcome. And so it will try to, conform to that diet very religiously. It'll try to work 12 hours a day, or if it's trying to get back to God, like I was praying in tongues for 6 hours a day and reading the Bible even more and all this stuff. And God the whole time was trying to destroy that wineskin in my life that I thought was important, that I thought was me, but it was really the ego trying to become something that I've already was. And so it was just that stripping and that removing of all of that stuff. And then when you have nothing and you become the last, then you can come into the place where you realize who you truly are as Christ. And that's what Jesus said, the kingdom's upside down. The last will be first, the first will be last. The least will be the greatest, and the greatest will be least. We truly are and need to go through that dying process of laying down our life, losing ourselves, and all of that. So.
Oh my God, you just said that so beautifully and so perfectly. And I hope that if anybody is watching live or by the replay, welcome everyone, that if you are in that dark night of the soul, that you will find a holding place of how sacred and how much of a gift it really is, because it really can be that. And I've been there too, several dark nights of the soul in my life.
Wow.
And each one has yielded such, if I could just get through it without ending my life,
yeah, sure.
But it would get close, because it's so dark sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you can hold on, and I actually believe that for many, now I hate to generalize, but I feel as though collectively and on the planet that we are at a shift moment.
Yes.
a shift has occurred, and many who have been collectively at the same time going through, many people were forced into a dark night or a reconstructing of their lives or the way they saw themselves. Some are going very, very much deeply now into removing those last final, not that there's ever any last final, but but I think we've moved into a shifting place, and there's a preparation, and I think that the preparation is now about how to create a culture of oneness. How do we actually take what we are assimilating and now embodying as Christ and the Christ mind, and actually take it from theory to a collective embodiment of Christ. And this is big, because this is what has failed so considerably, hasn't it, in churches and everything. God, in his mercy, if there was an external God, which there isn't, but God in his mercy won't let us stay the way that we are. We will continue the temple will continue to crumble to the ground, the individual temple and the collective temple, until it is built correctly, until it is built as Christ's body, and the revelation of that has to come. I don't want to talk long, but what are your thoughts about this, creating this culture of oneness?
Yeah. I think, it's such an important thing. And I think we're just learning about it now. Like, we're literally, there's no third testament of like, here it is, right? And I think it's because it can't even be written down in the language. It's like, we can't write this because it's not the carnal mind ego operating system that can grab it and go, this is the next thing. And so what's so important about what is happening right now is the dark night of the soul, is the trials, the traumas, the circumstances that are actually confronting us with who we're not, so that we can see and love those parts of ourselves and come into the eternal truth that we are one with God, that we are one with Christ. And as we actualize this and it becomes real to us in our own individual subjective experience, then we can actually come together with multiple people, and we can model unconditional love without conditions, without limits, without, oh, your doctrine's a little bit different than mine, or oh, this, because we are in that high place. We are in that frequency of love where there is no more of the duality of this is good, this is evil, and the dividing lines go. And then I see what's going to happen is people are going to see that. Jesus said, you will know me by your love. Like, they will know me by your love. And so this is the time. Christ consciousness, the foundation and the door to that is the love of God that we are, that doesn't come from the attachments of the ego or the control mechanisms of trying to line things up externally, but it's just that heart posture and condition. And when people see this modeled with people around them, they're going to just get lit. And I think that people won't need to go through the dark night of the soul, the multiple dark nights of the soul that you've been through, Michelle, like the forerunners and the pioneers and the people that have had to go through alone, because we're going to be there with them. We're going to be like, oh, you know what? You're going through this. It's perfectly okay. We love you. We know who you are. And we're going to be able, whoever is going to be able, the communities of oneness are going to be able to reflect back the truth of who people truly are. And the egos are going to be shed like this. All of the old wineskins are going to be broken down, and it's going to be organic. It's not going to be the outpouring from the sky in a revival meeting that brings this to happen. It is going to happen in people's homes, around dinner tables. It's going to happen, and it's eventually going to go into the churches, and they're going to get it too. And it's all going to happen. But this is, I really believe that it's that organic grassroots state of awareness or consciousness that we are truly one with Source, and that means we are love.
Oh my goodness, how beautifully said, beautifully said. Just to concur, I was just thinking before we came on, and I reached out to you in a little message, let's take our time, because English is not sufficient. Language as we've known it is not sufficient. It is only going to be able to really reflect back what we see in the natural with our eyes. We're moving into other realms. In my father's house are many rooms, opportunities, expansive understandings is what that's saying there. And you have said it so beautifully several times, but I don't want to overlook it or skip past it, because we've got to come to the center. We've got to meditate. We've got to center. We've got to center. We've got to travel to the center, and we've got to come to the hub. And we can't say it enough right now. It's the one thing. It's the one thing. It's the oneness thing is everything. If you don't have that peace, if you don't know you're one with Source, you're gonna keep slipping back into the duality, the ego self. So nurturing oneness. Personally, I think that this is, to me, this is a testament of no one's wasting their time doing their inner work. No one is wasting a moment. If it takes another 3 lifetimes doing your inner work to recognize that you are none of those things, but you are only the one thing, in union with and as and of the one thing, you're not wasting your time. How do you think, Daniel, we can nurture every day, very practical now, how can we nurture oneness, this oneness revelation and awareness? You used a great word, awareness.
Yeah, for sure. But before we dive into that, I just want to share a couple synchronicities that are happening right now. So I don't know how many people are on the broadcast, but I see that there's people commenting and stuff, and the whole time it's just said one at the top of my thing. So it's like there's only one of us here, right? So we're just here, and we actually started, like, the whole phone thing didn't work out originally, and it wouldn't work. But then we came on, and it was 1-1 here, 1-1-1 here, Mountain Standard Time, and it was like all of the individual ones, the individual separate, amazing divine beings that we are, we're coming together into the one. And there's only one of us here, guys. And so it's just so exciting that this is the reality that is unfolding in our experiences. But yeah, so as far as, like, the practicality of all of this and nurturing this, you know what? I think the most practical thing that we can do is become thought watchers and really become aware of our internal reality. When I went through a period of alcohol and drug addiction back in, like my late teens, early 20s. And around 2012 is when I started to get into recovery. And one of the thing that started happening in my life was I got this book. It was about mindfulness and meditation that this counselor gave me. And I realized that I wasn't my thoughts. And what he said to me changed my life, because he said, Daniel, if, like, you're having these using thoughts and then you just end up at the liquor store, you end up at this, but have you ever considered that you don't need to follow your thoughts and you're not actually your thoughts? And I'd never considered that before. And I was like, wow, like, that's amazing. He's like, yeah, like, if you had a thought, like, I'm going to put on a pink shirt and run through the backfield naked, like, are you going to do that? And I was like, you know what? No, I don't think I'm going to do that. No. And so it, like, really practically bridged the gap that all of the thoughts that I've been having weren't necessarily something that I was. I wasn't the unworthiness. I wasn't the inadequacy. I wasn't the lack of love and the brokenness and whatever it was. And so I think the most practical thing that somebody can do is just to begin to sit and begin to watch their thoughts and breathe and ask God into that space and just say, you know what, God, like, the Bible says that I'm one with you. I don't feel that. Show me the patterns and programmings in my heart and in my mind that are stopping me from getting there. And once we can do that, then we can start to do the Romans 12:2 process of not conforming and identifying with those egoic mind patterns anymore that we picked up in the church, or we picked up in our childhood, or we picked up from past trauma. But we can begin to be like, no, I'm going to associate with the I am, with the Christ in me, and I'm going to begin to love those patterns and programs. And so when it's like, I feel like I used to have this program that would be on repeat, Michelle. No matter how hard I try, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to succeed no matter how hard I try, because that was my experience. And so I would see that program and I would be like, failure, you're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be a failure. And what doing that does is it creates a separation from Daniel, the failure, to saying that the failure is allowed to be there. And it creates the separation from the egoic construct and helps place us as the embodiment of, as the Christ. Whereas normally the Christ is out there somewhere, Jesus in the sky or whatever, and we're separate from the Christ,
Right.
but we're actually going, you know, I'm the unworthiness. And so if we can speak as the I am, embodying that and say, you know, fear, resentment, worry, whatever it is that's coming up in our triggers and our experience, you're allowed to be here. We are literally practically making a distinction that that pattern is no longer us and we don't want to associate with it. And that just, it takes time and it takes practice of literally seeing it. But we're so powerful as divine beings of love and light that oftentimes when we just see it and bring our awareness to it, it begins to dissolve these things oftentimes. Sometimes if it's a really deep root thing, then you got to go into the old past, but that doesn't need to happen unless it's like a real massive soul split. So we're that powerful.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I think it's happening very quickly now as we are recognizing that we are light, and we simply allow and we bring awareness to the patterns that are not us. And I'm just kind of repeating for anybody that really needs to kind of break that down today, because we all want to go together with this, but it's happening quickly. There's a transmutation that is happening very quickly. It's not like the old days where it took 5 weeks of sitting in therapy and what have you. We are, and the root of it all, you know, I was just phrasing this on my website, you know, you remember the days when it was all of the new thing about self-improvement and all those spiritual gimmicks. And I just want to say to people, beware of all of that, because be aware of all those expensive programs that are just actually designed to keep you tending symptoms, tending symptoms. If you get to the root, if that's why, you know, it was said, lay the axe to the root of the tree. Understand that you are the tree of life. You're trying to get to the tree of life. We're on a journey to somewhere that we never left. We are on a journey to somewhere that we never left. What was the deception, Daniel, in the garden? What was it? I ask people that. Think about it. Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians, you know, I fear that you be deceived like Eve was deceived, you know, and deceived from your devotion. It says to Christ. It's really devotion as in Christ. What was the deception? Just talking straight from the scripture. It was, the deception was to reach outside of yourself so that you could be something that you already are. To be something that you already are. So it's in the revelation, the simple one revelation that you already are who we're trying to be. We don't have to try to be that. And that is that one little thing that you tip that one domino and all the rest begin to fall. So I love what you said. You said thought awareness, watching the thoughts, recognizing, oh, wait a minute, that must be the little I talking right there, because that's not in alignment with the truth of who I actually already am. Let's just talk very quickly about the audacity that appears to present to the people around us who are not seeing that and haven't seen that yet. That seems so audacious, doesn't it? But isn't that exactly what Jesus went through when people called him a blasphemer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I love what you're saying there. Like it starts with our perception. It's like Adam and Eve perceived in the parable that they were separate from God, right? And so it all started with the perception, and then the attachment. Oh, that fruit looks good. Let's attach to something outside of ourselves. And then, oh, I'm going to control it. I need to eat that fruit. And so it was the three beliefs or the facets of the ego that is the root of all of it, that we're learning to kind of come into and just let go of that. And you know, we're not trying to destroy the ego or kill the ego or anything like that. But once it truly knows it's safe, Psalm 23, the Lord, the Christ I am in me is my shepherd. I shall not be in lack. I shall not want. And we have that wholeness. It can rest okay. It's like it becomes a great, like, taking the back seat where it can just chill out and you know, it doesn't cause all of the problems that like it normally does in life. But it's dealing with all the patterns and programs that are in us that are that it attaches to, so that we can enter into that rest and into that peace. I'm sorry, I totally, I don't even know if I answered your
Oh,
question there.
you
But,
totally did.
okay.
No, that was so beautiful. And I want to comment briefly that I think the ego is such a beautiful tool for
Yes,
creativity.
absolutely. Yeah, I love that way of putting it, because it's like, it is like something that we pick up and utilize to like navigate our third dimensional experience here, to make choices, to do different things. But the problem is that when we were young and we almost got hit by that car and our parents yelled at us, get back from the car that almost hit you, the ego picked that up and created a program of,
Right.
you know what, like I'm not, whatever the program was, like, you know, I need to watch out, I'm scared to cross the street now. And there's fear whenever you need to cross the street, and that's the record that's stuck in our bodies. And so that is just the consequence of coming into a world that is so dense and steeped in duality, that now that we're remembering who we are and being born from above, remembering our origin as one with Christ, which I want to say is the foundation to all of it. We have to get that, because there's no point in just watching your thoughts if you don't know that you're one with God. If you don't have that at least initial belief, you might not even know it yet. You might not even have gone into the be still and know and had that merger in your consciousness, in your awareness yet. But at least if you believe, hey, the Bible says this all throughout. Paul gives us, you know, that we're co-crucified, that we're one with Christ, that Christ is in us. If we can at least start there and be like, okay, we're one with God, and I'm going to believe that, then we can begin to see that anything that's not in alignment with that essence, nature, and spirit essence of Christ needs to be seen, and it needs to be you know, healed, loved, and brought forth in that way.
Yeah, really beautiful. And I think I remember the question now. It was, how do we deal with the kickback that's an audacious thing to do?
Right.
You have to, I don't know, is it, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you just see it and then you can't unsee it? Or can you, I'm just putting this out there, can you tip the scale for yourself and walk in the so-called audaciousness of recognizing your oneness with Christ, with God? I mean, it's there in the scripture.
Yeah.
You can teach it, you can teach it, you can teach it, but until someone's ready or the lights come on to just it's a knowing.
Yes.
You are going to keep on walking around the mountain, you
Totally.
know, watching all the thoughts, doing all the right self-improvement things.
Yeah.
But you're just really still on the same stick, just a, you know, slightly improved end of it.
Right.
We've got to know ourselves. You know, I was thinking about that in Ephesians over the last few months, being rooted and grounded in love, not trying to be, being rooted and grounded in love. We already are.
Yes.
It's back to that, isn't it? The starting point is not separation. The starting point is oneness. And we're on a journey, most of us, through our Christianity and beyond and what have you, back to a place that we actually never left. What happened for you? How did your oneness light come on?
Through the dark night of the soul, honestly, like I had a level of union with Jesus and just like in the church and stuff. And I spent a lot of time going within. I looking back, like I was just always meant to just like go the mystical route. And, you know, the doctrines were important to me. And I went through a very religious period about like really trying to save souls and get people saved. But the truth is that we need to know. I began to move beyond the mind and go within to the heart. And when you know, Psalm 46:10, I think it says, be still and know that I am God. That word know is the deep, intimate knowing, the experiential knowledge that we need to have as one with God. And for a period of time, it's going to look like it's a separate God, right? And we're going to know that God and become one with that God. But then over time, as we continue to go deep, there's different layers and levels to union and oneness where we literally begin to realize that that's all we've ever been. And we need to know that in our hearts. Like it has to be experiential knowledge. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. And so it's like the way to what? I am the way. It's like John 17:3 says that the way is that you need to know the one true God. Know that gnosko, once again, the intimate knowledge. And then when we know the truth, it sets us free. It's not if we see the truth in a prophetic vision. It's not if we see the truth in the Bible. We need to know the truth in our heart. And so once again, we're in the realm again that's pointing. These words are just signposts pointing to the ever eternal reality of a knowingness that transcends our language.
Yes.
That we have to experience it would be the closest word pointing to it. And I love how you talked about personal development and how, like, there's so many great personal development teachers like Tony Robbins and all these like stuff. And I went through I used to work for a personal development company, but it's really like, if we're that tree that's rooted deep, deep into the soils with the river of life there, it's like, the personal development's like, how can I like paint gold airbrush my leaves so I look beautiful? Like it's like let's make sure the like the soil and the water and like the nutrients are coming into the roots. And guess what? Those leaves are going to be way better than the most airbrushed leaves you can find. It's going to be the organic knowing, the truest expression of and creativity of who we are that springs forth from our life. If we're deeply rooted in the knowledge of the gnosis of who we are as one with Christ, as Christ beings.
Yeah. You just can't get away from it. When you've got that one root, when you got that sorted out, the fruit will flourish. I had such a great pleasure once to have an inquiry from someone that was perhaps, I've struggled to use the word coaching lately because it doesn't seem to describe what it is that I do or want to do for people. But anyway, this person followed up and what have you. And then they had this fabulous, all I was going to really share with them, which is what I really focus on, is a reminder of who you are, one with God, that everything's there, accessible within you, etc. And before we even had our first session, she remembered that. And I said, fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great because really, if you really are the true gurus in this world are going to continually work themselves out of a job while we help people remember who they are and that they have a divine guidance system within. And all of the wisdom is accessible within. And the real key to loving people is to help them remember that and help them catch that, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise we're perpetually children in diapers.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
The idea of an all-pervading love, a life energy that is everywhere, which, by the way, if God is omnipotent, that includes you, everyone, every cell. If God is omnipotent, that includes every cell, every fiber of every single person's being, or that's not omnipotence. But it's not about trying to find this love, is it? It's about our resistance to it, releasing the resistance to it.
Yes.
Right? It's just that simple. And we're talking about very simple concepts today in this goal, if you want to call it that, of creating a culture of oneness. It's really just transforming our minds to understanding what's already accessible and possible and releasing the resistance to it. Would you talk a little bit about that, how you help people release their resistance to the oneness and the pervading love and life force that already is?
For sure. Well, I don't think you can really help anyone release the resistance until they're ready. Right. So it's like the soul or the mind or the heart needs to get to a certain place where they realize that they're not content with their lives, or the way that things they thought were going to be isn't what's going to be. And that the ultimate culmination of that's the dark night of the soul that can manifest in certain ways. And so I think once people are truly ready, and then they come in, and it's really just that practical process of being able to see the stuff that is not us and shed the layers so that the truth can actually come forth. The sun is always shining, but if you walk under a gazebo, you're not going to be perceiving that sun. It's still shining no matter what. And so it's like, okay, well, let's remove the gazebos. Let's remove the layers. Let's remove all the stuff. And that is the essence of really helping people, just like you were helping that person remember. It's exactly that. It's just removing the things that we think that we are, who we're actually not, even if it's good things that we've built up and personal developed ourselves into. All that's got to go. The more personal development and good stuff you've done in God, for God, in business, whatever, that if before the flip, that's all got to go too, right? So
yes. Yes, absolutely. So well said. So I'm sure people are asking this because we're about there on the collective journey. What then is life? What is my life? Do I not do anything anymore? Does discipline have its place? What kind of discipline? What should I be about doing? What does anything mean anymore? These are some really potent thoughts that you know, in the existential crisis of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And
right?
So, totally.
Go ahead. Yeah. Tell us what your thoughts are.
There's like this kind of gray area. It's like the rising of the sun. It's like when it's darkness and it's nighttime out and the sun is just rising and there's a little bit of light that's coming out and it's starting to illuminate the darkness, but it's a gray area, right? That's what a lot of us are in right now and going through, and I'm even in that in aspects of my life too. And so it's like, you know, there's a place for discipline, there's a place for these things, but those who are mature sons of God are led by the unctions of the Spirit of God. And so it's not so much about let's plan all these things and, you know, like work towards them incrementally and systematically in a linear timeline fashion, because everything is happening now. And so if we can anchor ourselves back into that reality, into the now, we let go of time. And when we let go of time, the egoic mind has nothing to attach to. And if the egoic mind has nothing to attach to, there's really nothing to be too disciplined about. But the whole idea that I need to be disciplined to achieve something is actually rooted in the idea that we're not okay with where we're at. That we're not okay with who we are. We're not okay. There's a level of resistance to our external reality that's around us. And so because of that resistance is there, we need to discipline and personal develop our way into something. And so what we do now is, we don't just sit and do nothing all day, but we are led by inspiration. Yes. I'll often ask, what is my highest in this moment? And we're led by the high vibrations of love and peace and joy, the kingdom vibrations. And we do what feels good to us. And we live in that space. And then synchronicities happen and opportunities come. And you know, you would have had to work, you know, 3 years to get that vehicle or whatever, and it just shows up because you're in alignment and you've been living in the high vibrational states of being, and you're just connecting and you've done the internal work. And we are literally the bridges to the heavenly realms. We are the vortexes of creation. And so we don't need to do and try in order to get these things or become these things, because once again, that's the external attachment of the ego. But everything begins to come in a flow state as we align ourselves in with who we truly are as one with Christ.
Damn, beautifully said. Damn. Amazingly said. Gorgeously said. That was just a flow. That was such a divine consciousness flow right there. That was so beautiful. Renee mentioned chop wood, fetch water. Exactly. Sometimes that is going to be it. You know, being about our Father's business. I love what you said about the inspiration. I have moved into, because of the gift of a shift that was deeply painful. The Spirit told me the day after it happened what to do. And it took a year for me to finally come around to shedding the constructs that wanted to keep certain things together. And I'm finally entering into that rest of doing what was inspired to me to begin with, which was to follow the inspiration, to truly follow the inspiration every day. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. And it is such a beautiful place to be. It's also scary for anybody may be relating to this, a scary place for the ego, the little s construct, because then who am I and how's money going to come? And it's like we can't turn around and go back. So we are at this is your only choice. Step fully into the oneness beingness. Step fully. We got to drag both feet over. I think that it's very possible that some things may happen in our world in such a practical way that we have got to drag both feet over into this oneness to begin to create cultures and communities of oneness that are operating in such an immersion of the love frequency that we're working in harmony with the plant life, with nature, with really bringing it back, like you said, down to a grassroots level of what it actually means to exist and live on this earth, even if that means coming back to wildness and foraging and you know, small life community. I think we're there. But it starts with the individual revelation of that, or you're going to get people come together and they're going to start bashing up against each other, right? So this work that we're doing is very, very, very important. And you're talking about living from that inspirational place. Can we talk just for a few minutes? I can't believe how quickly the time has passed, about
we can keep going,
developing and expanding our parameters into power, developing the powers within us that have really atrophied in our very low level 3D state, right? We've got a lot of powers within us and they've atrophied. It might include travel. It might include different mind connections and communications, different ways of accessing wisdom, Akashic records, different information that's out there for us to understand. Benevolent beings, you know, all this kind of thing. How are you helping yourself develop your formerly atrophied powers
That's
to
so,
live in the new realms?
Yeah, so for sure, man, there's so much to talk about. Like like even everything you just said there with the communities and nature and everything, like, but like, oh man,
start wherever you want, or you know, or not. We could meditate now.
Well, that's really where it starts, isn't it? Is just meditating and going within and realizing your union with Christ and your union with God, and from that place you begin to realize that the Father's house has many dimensions. There are multiple dimensions. There are higher vibrational beings of love and light, angelic beings, different, you know, like in the Revelation there's even, like, you know, different creatures and different things that are talked about. And so when we raise our vibration to that place of unconditional love, I remember when I first was really understanding oneness, I realized, okay, I'm one with God, and that translated, if I'm one with God, then everyone's one with God. All of creation's one with God. The cosmos is a pretty big place. if you know, it's not enough just to have, like, you know, like me and someone in Africa or a different culture being one with God. What about different beings and different things like that? And what are they? Are they really aliens, or are they really just also part of the one Spirit, the one God, the one Father, who's above all, in all, and through all? And that version of that God, of that Jesus, is actually a lot bigger than we actually thought. And so when we begin to start to comprehend these things, which can't come through if we're in the old wineskin of the egoic constructs, because oneness is the foundation to be moving in and connecting with these higher dimensional beings or angelic beings, but they're dying to tell us stuff about what's to come. Like, they're dying to give us information about what's happening on Earth, and who we're growing into and who we're evolving into, and cosmology and all of this stuff. And so I don't know where you want to go or how deep you want to go with it, but yeah, it's all there, and it's all accessible as we begin to vibrate in love. And I will say the thing that really opened the door for me is letting go of the fear.
Yes.
So, you know, even with extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals, there's a lot of talk about, you know, alien abductions and a lot of stuff in Hollywood and things like that are all about, you know, like the dark aspect of this stuff. And we've been programmed in that way to believe that, so that we don't come into the greater truth of that we're part of a huge cosmic community that's actually about elevating the entire multiverse. And so basically what I did is I just said, you know, Father, I choose to believe that I am unconditionally loved and fully supported by you and by the universe, and that the universe is a benevolent place. The nature and essence of the universe, of the multiverse and beyond, is a loving place. And when I made that decision in my heart, it began to open the doorway, because I was in the higher vibration of love, to tune myself to be able to hear and perceive certain otherworldly realms, or angelic realms, we could say.
Right. Right. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I noticed, I'm just seeing a few little things. Um, I saw the words, I mentioned the word benevolent, and I see Renee has said a sentence here, which I can't read because it's on white on white, but it says malevolent. And again, that brings us back to the essential knowing and awareness that it's all one. It's all one. You know, I could use the scripture here, Genesis 3:22, such an overlooked scripture. Man has become like one of us, which really is of Echad, of the oneness, knowing good and evil. Here's your extra essential consciousness ability, guys, as you are not banished. In fact, Shalak sent forth into the earth realm. You have an ability to discern and distinguish between this and this and this and this, but you were always of one, and you're still of one,
Yes.
just like the Father, just like the source. So that is beautiful, because there is no fear in love.
Yes.
And so when you know that you are love, and you are not the this or the this, the malevolent or the benevolent, you stop fearing the malevolent, because love will swallow up and transmute everything that is in its path. And we have become masters as the human race of resisting the love that is.
Exactly. Yeah, so well said. Exactly. We are masters at resisting love. It's so well put. It's crazy to think that we've become so good at that we've fallen in our perspective so far from our true essence and origin as one with love, as one with Christ, and that separation has been so thick and actually cultivated and created by the mainstream systems of the earth to keep us focusing, giving our energy to that, and continuing to perpetuate that structure. But that's all leaving now. That's all leaving from what we're coming into. Yeah.
It is, which is why hell as an eternal conscious torment. What a horrendous thought. Is one of the first things to go, because can you imagine that there's such a pervasiveness of resistance to love, to resistance to the boundless life energy, which is essentially giving. It is essentially, it's a birthing, creative, giving energy.
Yes.
So our pervasiveness to resist it is so strong that we even created an idea of hell.
Yeah,
it's sick, isn't it?
Like a personification of that, like, ultimate idea. Hey, yeah, crazy.
Wow. You know, I think that just circling back, and we'll have to have another conversation because it's so rich and there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
But we tapped momentarily, teeny bit into the rhythms of nature and returning to oneness with nature. I think that this love, as we become baptized again in the essence, and you know that's actually what it means, go into all the world, or into every man's world, or into the cosmos, and baptizing them in the name of the, we say Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's pretty powerful right there. But in the Onama, baptized in the Onama, what is baptized? It's being immersed in the essence and the presence. It's being immersed in a revelation of the essence and the character and the presence of that of source.
Yes.
So I think if we can be baptized into that, if we can really just like chill and just immerse into the truth of the love that we already are, I think that love will actually begin to reorder the ecosystem.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? It's coming from us. It's coming from us remembering our origin. And that's why all of creation is groaning for the manifest sons to be revealed in the earth. Because see, these different kingdoms, the first density kingdom of the mineral kingdom, the second density of the plant and animal kingdom, they're all still the one, but they're needing the ones to rise up to remember their fourth density origins, their higher dimensional origins, as one with Christ, to be able to vibrate at that high frequency. So like the Bible says that Jesus is like, if you don't praise me, if you don't praise life and come into it, the rocks will cry out, alluding to the rocks having consciousness. Wow. Well, everything is living. Everything is living. Everything is the one. Everything is the eternal mind substance of Christ, of all that is vibrating at different frequencies and different densities. And as we, as the restorers of the breach, or the restorers of the streets, come into our Christ essence and Christ consciousness, we are going to be able to merge our consciousness with the rocks, with the plants. In the world of the future is going to look very different, because we won't need external technology. We will be able to literally merge our consciousness with these external, seemingly inanimate objects that aren't inanimate. How do you think the pyramids were built? These cultures had access to the higher dimensional and higher density realms of Christ consciousness, the law of one.
Yes.
And so they actually spoke to the rocks, and the rocks orchestrated themselves in certain ways, in certain dynamics, to build structures that are greater than any even engineering feat that modern technology can do now. We have the records on the earth all around us. It's just we haven't been able to perceive or see from our separate egoic identities that are rooted in that whole, I master at resisting love. And now we're coming into fully remembering, and it's like no, like the world's going to look so much different. And so some of the tough stuff that you alluded to that could be coming down the pipe and stuff like that is all a divine setup to break down the wineskin of the earth, so this new Christ consciousness, the second coming of Christ, can come in and through all creation. And we, as the forerunners of the first new wineskin of this, we have our house built on the rock now. Right? So we won't be shaken through it, because we know that we are co-creating our reality, and we are in the eternal heart space and divine embrace of all that is. And so we're not going to be shaken by any systems, because we're in the world, but not of it anymore. But anybody who is still in it and has the hooks in them, Jesus said, I have no more hooks in me. Anyone who's done the internal work, back to the internal work and why it's the most important thing, because if you're hooked, if you've got hooks in you that's attached to any external thing and that crumbles, you're going down with it. And so that's why we're releasing all the egoic attachments, control structures, different things. And it's not that we're becoming nothing and life sucks and we're just meditating in a cave. It's that we are ascending our vibration into a mode of operation that this world and the cosmos have been crying out for eons. That's why we came.
That's exactly it. Brilliantly said, brilliantly articulated. Friends, you're going to have to want to share this out, please, and replay, because it is, Daniel's articulating some things so beautifully. You and I are so synced.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Romans 8:19 through 23 is talking about. It's happening right now. We are being manifest to ourselves as what we really are. Ecosystems are going to come into order. The fruit is going to want to start growing for us in harmony, because it is about a development. It's always been about a cultivation of the earth as a planet. She hasn't even started to reach her dynamic, extraordinary potential. And we have an inner technology, just as Daniel was describing. We have an inner technology that is atrophied. We've forgotten all about it. But the people of the ancient civilizations understood what they had. They actually worked with the light codes that were coming in from the planets and the stars. They understood astrology and astronomy. They worked with the fullness of the cosmos, the fullness of God that is in all things. And we need to wake up and stop being afraid, start allowing the barrier of fear to keep us in this tiny, teeny, tiny little box that is preventing us from exploding into the superpowers that we have in us. That's why my thing is called Unlock Your Superpowers, because we have them. And it's time. I mean, it's time right now to do it. And I absolutely agree with everything that you said. We're bringing... and I want to finish maybe with this thought, because we have been going for quite a while, and I want this to be short enough that people can share it out comfortably. But I would suggest to continue the inner work and to start to connect with this inner technology, which I think is best revealed to you, by spirit, as you, to oneself. I think we can teach about these things, and it helps us. But I think a great place to start is to begin to come back to the stillness, come back to the center place, to allow an increase of the spaciousness where the presence can begin to teach. And you know, Jesus has become to us, it says, or Christ has become to us wisdom, sanctification and righteousness, has become to us, has become in us. We have the wisdom is in us, and we can access it. We have the mind of Christ. We're not going to get it on a good day. We have that mind of Christ. Let's come back to that still space. I would say, don't be so busy doing the world stuff out there this season. And I do speak prophetically to this. This week is a powerful week. Solstice is an opportunity. It's such an obvious doorway. It's such a freaking obvious doorway that in the Northern Hemisphere, we're moving from one season of darkness coming into the light. I tell you what, look for the eye of the needle. Look for the teeny little opening in your quiet, still space into an expansion into new understandings, because they're here, they're available for us right now. Finish us off, Daniel, with some final words, and then any other thing that you have on your heart.
Well, I was just thinking we definitely need to do a part 2.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I mean, it really, we are, if you are here listening to this broadcast, if this broadcast comes into your consciousness, you are here on earth for a time such as this. Like, you are part of this. You are part of the upgrades. You are part of coming into Christ likeness and the Christ consciousness that all of creation is groaning for. And they're groaning for you to manifest your sonship, your daughtership, your higher vibrational 5D Christ-like self. And so continue to keep doing the inner work. Keep watching Michelle's broadcast. Reach out to her. Get her to help you process some of these stuff that's going on in your heart and your mind. You know, it's time to level up. We need to put both feet over the line. Like she's saying, the longer that we try to stay in the old, the more it's going to get painful and painful. And it's going to get to the point where you can't take it anymore. It's going to break, and then you're going to go anyway. So just realize that there is, according to the stars, which Genesis says is put in the sky for times and seasons, the reason why they're up there, and there's a culmination, not just for our solar system, not just the solstice, not just the great year, but literally our galactic core. There is a multiple convergence of multiple timelines that are coming together in this time and in this period. But we need to remove those hooks. We need to remove those lower vibrational states of being that we think we are, so that we can embody and raise our vibration, ascend, manifest into sonship, whatever we want to call it, because all of creation is waiting for us to do that. So that's all I would want to say.
Incredible, 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 beautiful, amazing. Daniel's an incredible life coach, transformation coach. Check him out. Find him too. Thank you for that shout out. I really appreciate that. We're all about, this is not about building a business.
No.
This is about transforming the earth. This is about bringing the earth into her magnificent beauty, all creation coming into the fullness of who they are. I could care less anymore about all of that nonsense. It's gone from my heart. I simply want to do what I came here to do. I know you do too, Daniel. I know everybody watching, by the live, by the replay, you realizing, oh, I came to the planet for a sole purpose. I've got a mission and I've got an assignment, and we're about our Father's business. We're about doing what we came here to do. So yeah, let's just continue to connect. Let's do a part 2. Let's continue to connect with each other. Beautiful friends out there, I love you so much. I hope you can feel the love. I hope that you're ignited. I hope your superpowers are getting unlocked. I hope that everything that you are will bust forth out of the telephone booth, from Clark Kent to the superhero that you are as a God in this world, as a child of God, as an extension of God force, as an extension of spirit, with an ego that's a tool for you to create, to co-create a magnificent experience for yourself, and God having a you experience, and let's do it together. Let's go together. I love every single one of you. Daniel Sommerville, thank you. Namaste, my brother. You are the most incredible, extraordinary being, and it is an honor always to get to share some screen time with you.
It's an honor to be on here with you too, Michelle. I just echoed the same words back to you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for having me on. We'll talk soon.
Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.